Picture this. You've worked your whole life. You've paid taxes, raised a family, done everything you were supposed to do. And now you're staring down retirement with $31,000 a year from the pension, while a one-bedroom unit in Brisbane rents for $650 a week. The maths doesn't work, and thousands of Australians have already figured that out. Except this time, they're not heading to Bangkok or Bali. They're boarding long-haul flights to Lisbon, Alicante, and Athens. These aren't retirees chasing a postcard. Many of them are ordinary Aussies on the age pension who worked out that their dollar stretches 2 to 3 times further on the Iberian Peninsula, and that Europe comes with something Asia doesn't always offer: a familiar legal system, walkable old towns, and a pathway to residency that can eventually lead to an EU passport for their kids or grandkids. So what's actually going on here? And more importantly, exactly how much do you need saved to make the move work? Stick around, because later in this video, I'll show you the precise number that answers that second question, and it's smaller than you'd think. Let's start with the obvious. Australia's cost of living crisis is squeezing retirees hardest of all. According to ASFA, a comfortable retirement in 2026 sits at roughly $54,800 a year for a single person, or over $77,000 for a couple. The full-age pension for a single person comes in around $31,200 a year. That's barely more than half of what's considered comfortable, and if you're renting anywhere near a capital city, the pension barely covers the roof over your head, let alone food, power, and transport. That gap is exactly why an estimated 90,000 plus Australians already collect their pension from overseas, and Europe is quietly becoming one of the fastest growing destinations on that list. It's not just retirees either. Financial advisors are increasingly fielding calls from clients in their late 50s, asking whether this is something they should have planned for years earlier. Here's the part most people get wrong. You don't lose your Australian age pension by moving to Europe. As long as you've lived in Australia for at least 10 years, with 5 of those years consecutive, and you apply before you leave, your pension keeps landing in your account no matter which country you wake up in. You will lose supplements like rent assistance and the energy supplement after 6 weeks abroad, but the core payment travels with you. That single fact changes the entire equation for anyone who assumed retiring overseas meant forfeiting everything they were entitled to at home. Now let's talk about where Aussies are actually going. Portugal leads the pack, especially the Algarve and Porto. The weather is Mediterranean. Healthcare consistently ranks among the best in Europe, and English is widely spoken in expat pockets. A realistic monthly budget for a single retiree living comfortably in Porto, we're talking a nice apartment, eating out regularly, private health cover included, lands around 1,400 to 2,200 Australian dollars. Compare that to trying to survive in Melbourne on the same income. It isn't close. Portugal's D7 visa is built for exactly this. It requires proof of passive income at or above Portugal's minimum wage benchmark, which currently works out to roughly 12,000 Australian dollars a year, alongside proof of accommodation and health insurance. What makes Portugal especially attractive is the community that's already built up around it: English language social clubs, expat medical concierge services, and entire neighborhoods in Porto and the Algarve where you can go weeks without needing to speak Portuguese. Though most retirees say learning even basic phrases dramatically improves the experience. Next is Spain, particularly Alicante and Valencia. The non-lucrative visa is the pathway most retirees use, and it requires proof of an annual income around 28,000 to 30,000 Australian dollars, which the age pension alone comfortably covers. Monthly living costs in these coastal cities typically run between 1,600 and 2,600 Australian dollars. For a comfortable lifestyle, including a rental apartment, groceries from the local market, and regular dining out. Spain also has one of the more mature private healthcare markets in Europe, with English-speaking clinics clustered around the major retiree hubs on the Costa Blanca. Then there's Greece, which has become the dark horse of the European retirement scene. The financially independent person visa requires proof of roughly 2,000 to 2,200 Australian dollars a month in guaranteed income. And Greece's cost of living outside Athens, in places like Crete or the Peloponnese, can be startlingly low. Monthly budgets often land between 1,300 and 2,000 Australian dollars, and property purchase prices in smaller towns remain a fraction of anything comparable back home. Now let's get into the real numbers. If your target lifestyle costs 2,000 Australian dollars a month, that's $24,000 a year. The full-age pension of roughly $31,200 already clears that with over $7,000 a year to spare, enough for travel, a buffer fund, or simply a better lifestyle than the pension could ever buy in Australia. If you're not yet at pension age and want to retire early, the math shifts. Using the 4% rule, you'd need around $600,000 invested to safely generate $24,000 a year. That's a fraction of the $1.5 to $2 million most financial planners say you need to retire comfortably in Australia. Even accounting for a more generous $3,000 a month lifestyle in a pricier coastal pocket of Spain or Portugal, the required portfolio only climbs to around $900,000, still well under what's typically recommended for staying in Sydney or Melbourne. Here's a detail that could save you thousands, and most people overlook it. Your superannuation doesn't vanish when you leave the country. Once you've hit preservation age and met a condition of release, you can access it from anywhere in the world through lump sum withdrawals or an account-based pension paid directly into your Australian bank account. And if you're over 60, those withdrawals are generally tax-free at home. The catch is Australia does have double taxation agreements with several European countries, including Portugal and Spain, which can affect how your pension and super income is treated locally. So getting advice before you leave matters more here than in Southeast Asia. A tax advisor who specializes in expat retirees can typically map this out for a few $100s, and it's money well spent before you commit to a lease or a visa application. And let's talk about healthcare, because this is where Europe pulls ahead of Asia. Portugal and Spain both offer access to public healthcare systems once you hold residency, and private international cover for someone in their early 60s typically runs between $1,800 and $3,200 US a year. Currency risk is still real. The Aussie dollar moves against the euro, and distance from family remains the emotional cost nobody puts on a spreadsheet. Being away from grandkids and mates back home weighs on people over time, no matter how good the weather is. Some retirees manage this by planning a longer trip home once a year rather than shorter, more frequent visits, using the money saved on cost of living to fund the flights. There's also the practical side that rarely makes it into the glossy version of this story. Shipping belongings, learning a new banking system, and navigating residency renewals every 1 to 2 years depending on the country. None of it is difficult exactly, but it does require patience, and retirees who go in expecting a bit of admin tend to handle it far better than those expecting a seamless, instant transition. It's also worth mentioning pets. Bringing a dog or cat to the EU is entirely possible with the right microchipping, vaccination, and pet passport paperwork. But it needs to start months before you fly, not the week before. So factor that into your planning if you're not leaving anyone behind. If any of this sparks something in you, don't sell the house tomorrow. Start with a trial run. Spend 1 to 3 months in Porto or Alicante, rent short-term, meet the local expat community, and see how the lifestyle actually feels before you commit to a visa application. Talk to people who've already made the move. Most expat Facebook groups and forums are full of retirees happy to share exactly what surprised them, good and bad. Retiring in Europe isn't for everyone. But for the growing number of Australians tired of watching their savings disappear just to keep a roof over their heads, it's becoming one of the smartest financial moves they'll ever make. If this video opened your eyes to something new, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.